New World Order, you underestimated the people. You took a gamble and you lost.
Okay, we don't like this. Okay, well then we're going to do this. And that is just how it's going to be.
Evidence brought to light that there is a corrupt officer, or that that officer did shoot that kid on purpose.
I don't care how I look, I don't care how I sound, I don't care what the beat is. I just care the message gets across.
Alrighty, everybody, I'm back. I'm home from church, and I'm going to pick up where I left off. As I stated in my last video, I addressed Christianity and how they're always whining and bitching because the atheists and whatnot are fucking picking on them and fucking pointing out shit that shatters their belief system, yet they do it to everybody else. The Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Scientology, Hindus, Muslims, etc. But yet, they never touch on Judaism or Zionism. And I think that's funny as hell. They don't touch on it because it's, quote, anti-Semitic. Well, why the fuck not? If your religion's right, then technically Zionism and Judaism are wrong because they don't accept Jesus Christ. Which is pretty much your basis argument for targeting all these other religions like Hindus, Muslims, whatever. You know, you target anybody who doesn't believe in your system, but yet you don't target Judaism and Zionism because it's, quote, anti-Semitic, taboo, you don't do it. Well, that's your prerogative, whatever. I'll touch on it. I'll touch on it all fucking day long. And I'll say it. I'll address the whole fucking enchilada. Judaism and Zionism are not the same thing. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. They're not the same thing. Jews, from members to high-ranking Jewish officials, have stated publicly that Judaism and Zionism are not the same thing. That they are two separate entities. And that the Jewish community wants no part of Israel and the bullshit that's going on in Israel. Because why? As per the Torah and the prophecy of Solomon, when the temple was destroyed 2,000 years ago, that was it for them. They are no longer prohibited to have their own country. That is per their own law, that is per the Torah, that is per the prophecy of Solomon, that is per Jewish teaching, and is not in any way anti-Semitic. You don't like it? Here's my dick. Suck it. That's all there is to it. Now, what really gets my goat in retrospect is Christians who sit there and argue, not even listening to the Jewish community. They'll sit there and argue, well, Israel belongs to the Jews. It's the country that God gave them, blah, blah, blah. That has got to be the biggest crock of shit I have ever heard in my life. Because, especially from a Christian standpoint, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the individual whom the Jews have rejected for 2,000 years, whom the Pharisees had nailed to a cross after beating the living hell out of them. Yeah. Didn't Jesus Christ say the only way to the Father is through me? You know, as per his own words. Nobody comes to the Father but through the Son, aka Jesus Christ. So if the Jews reject Jesus Christ, aren't they, in retrospect, rejecting God? Because nobody comes to the Father but through the Son, right? So if they're rejecting the Son, they're, in a sense, rejecting the Father. And his law and everything else, blah, blah, blah. And we all know how God dealt with the Jews in the Old Testament. Every time they'd fuck up and wouldn't follow God's law to the T. Cosmic bitch slap. Every fucking time. Led them into bondage, took Israel away from them, and as per the Torah, when the temple was destroyed 2,000 years ago, no more Israel for the Jews. Call me anti-Semitic all you want, but the facts are the facts. Think about it. That's just all there is to it. So how can Christians sit there and whine that Israel belongs to the Jews? Wouldn't it, in retrospect, belong to the followers of Jesus Christ? Those who accepted Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, technically the Christian community, rather than the Jews? I mean, it would only make sense, right? Because the Christians are the ones who have the, quote, fullness of the gospel because they accept Jesus Christ, and therefore nobody comes to the Father but through the Son, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's a question you gotta ask yourself. But here's another question for you. You got, as I addressed in my last video, you've got 41,000 plus Christian-based religions in the world, all teaching varying understandings of doctrine, conducting different variations of worship, all based off of Catholicism, which in itself is nothing short of a deliberate, watered-down control system and a remnant of the old original Christian belief system that Jesus Christ set up. If it weren't, we'd all be Catholic right now, right? I mean, it just stands to reason, wouldn't it? So, if Christianity is a watered-down version of Catholicism, and Catholicism is a remnant of the original Christian church, then who has rights to Israel, if anybody? If there is true church on the earth, presumably it would probably belong to them, as far as a Christian standpoint would go. But, you know, that's a whole other topic in and of itself. It's fun to boggle your mind with it, but I'll just leave you with it. As you know, I'm Mormon. I'm not going to say I'm right, you're wrong, because I don't do that to people. I have my faith. You have your faith. I respect that. I'm not going to sit here and play my dick's bigger than yours. I'm not going to play that. I'm not going to say I'm right, you're wrong. Because all any religion is, as far as your understanding and accepting and choosing to believe it, is on a matter of faith. So, just like you follow your faith, your religion, because of your faith and beliefs and standpoints, so it is with me. And I respect that. And I won't impose my beliefs on other people. I'll just state my opinions, like it or hate it. They are my opinions, and they will be respected. Zionism is a fucking shitstorm masked and hiding behind Judaism. And Christianity, as a whole, needs to stop going, oh, Israel belongs to the Jews, because it doesn't. Fuck Zionism. Fuck this poor Christian bullshit, and fuck off with this, oh, Israel, poor Israel. Fuck Israel. Fuck it, right in the pussy.